all tuned in today for how to start, or what happens about, what are you going to learn about hiring an inside sales associate? So we're going to talk about what is an inside sales associate, how they can support your business, how to double your appointments to double your income with them, best practices on how to hire them, how to train them, ways to retain them, and what are those first steps? How do you get started? Okay. So let me ask, just before I introduce myself and really kick things off, let me ask everybody on Zoom here, is there anything specific you want to make sure you walk away with? This is your training, you're attending. Anything you're hoping to really get out of this today?
On my part, mainly the retaining of the talent, not necessarily the hiring, because that's already done. Now we want to make sure that the person is happy, and also meeting the goals, making sure that the team is happy and the team member is happy too.
Got it. So retaining the talent. You found talent, you spent all this time finding them, but now how do you keep them? Right? Mm-hmm. We will absolutely talk about that. Love that. Anything else you want to make sure that we cover in this session about hiring an inside sales associate? And again, as you're thinking about things, again, ask questions, put them in the chat box on Zoom, and I'll do my best to cover every topic. So what we're going to go over today, what is an ISA? Is now the right time for you to hire one? How do you find it? Best practices to finding one. What do you look for in an ISA, a talented ISA? The interview process. How do you train and, as Ksenia said, retain them? You spend all this time. How do you hold on to them? Right? Some expectations, a few best practices of payment structure, and then your first steps. What's that action item you're taking away from this? My name is Alana Huber-Katz. I'm the Director of Coaching and Business Development here at Keller Williams Legacy. I started in real estate in 2015. I used to be a director at university, and my friend took her 2 years, but she talked me into getting into real estate. I started in real estate while getting licensed as one of the first original inside sales associates. So I started as an ISA for a very, very large expansion team. I was setting appointments for 12 different agents across multiple different states. After making a lot of, having some failures in the very beginning, I'll talk about that in a few slides, I ended up averaging about 8 to 10 appointments per week with a 70% conversion rate. Just gonna let that sink in for a minute. You do some math on that, okay? Now, fast forward in 2017, again, I am a coach for both agents and inside sales associates with Keller Williams Legacy as well as nationwide. I became a MAPS coach with Keller Williams in 2018. So for 2 years, I was a specialized MAPS coach just for inside sales associates. MAPS of Keller Williams closed down that program. They do have a great group coaching program that my friend Anna Kruger leads, which is phenomenal. It's a group coaching for specifically ISAs, but I will tell you it's great for agents as well if you want to double your appointments. Okay. I also still to this day work with ISAs across the nation, coaching them, leading them, guiding them, coaching teams on how to hire, as well as working with the ISAs on what do you say to get them most successful. So I have a soft spot, I guess you could say, for the role ISA. It is for anybody in here have an ISA in the past and maybe it didn't work out. Hey, can I ask somebody to close that for me? Thank you so much. We just got a lot of background. We have a lot of stuff going on in our office today, which is awesome. But there's noise, so we're going to close some things. Has anybody had an ISA, maybe it didn't work out? Anybody ever have one, Ksenia?
Yeah.
If you don't mind me asking, what is one reason would you say maybe it didn't work out, in your opinion?
The reason why? Unclear expectations.
Unclear expectations. Absolutely. I will tell you, whenever you hire anybody, not just ISA, but anybody, if you don't have those clear expectations of them, then they might be thinking they're doing an amazing job, and you might be thinking the opposite, and you're not on the same page. So yep, that is 100% gonna fail. We are gonna talk about a specific 30, 60, 90 for an inside sales associate to set those clear expectations. Absolutely. So let's dive in. What's an ISA? What is an inside sales associate? How can they help you? What do they do? Like just a really short version. Like what do they do?
Make phone calls.
Make phone calls. Yep. They smile and dial. Dialing for dollars. I used to call and actually had a business card made up for myself when I was an ISA called Lead Gen Machine. That was my title. Lead Gen Machine. Right? A good full-time ISA. Some people have part-time. We'll talk about the differences. A good full-time ISA typically is on the phone out of their 8-hour day, about 6 hours within their 8 hours. So 6 hours a day, 5 days a week, smiling and dialing. This a bit, there we go. So it's really a game changer, right? When you are ready to bring on an ISA, which we'll talk a little bit about that, it is a game changer, right? It is them doing the one thing that can we just keep this real right now? As agents, do we love lead gen? Is that our favorite thing? What's our favorite thing as agents? Going to settlement. Prior to that, negotiating, going on appointments, getting signatures. We like to hustle, we like to bustle, we like to get out there, right? Let me go on more appointments, let me negotiate more deals, get more signatures, go to more settlements. So when is the right time to hire? What do you guys think? When is the right time for you guys to hire? Today. So I do love that. Actually, Maureen, I love that you're joining us because an ISA is for any role. You don't have to be in real estate. You can be in home warranty.
Sure.
You still lead gen. You have to call people. You need business.
Out there,
Yeah. Right. So
30 people.
yeah, absolutely. Any business sales role where you have to call people to generate business can, in theory, have an ISA. Right.
Or be, yes.
Or be an ISA. Absolutely. So I'm going to answer that question. When is the right time to hire? 2 ways. One, now, anytime. We're in a shifted market. In a shifted market, we have to double down on business. We have to double down on appointments to get the same results. We have to double down on lead gen. We have to talk to more people to get the same results that we did last year. So are we willing to do that? If we're not willing to do that, are we willing to pay someone and hire somebody to do that for us? If yes, it's a good time to hire an ISA. Another thing is if you are going on so many appointments and you really want to double the amount of appointments that you go on, you personally go on, right? If you're going on, I'm just gonna name a number, 3 appointments every week, and you wanna go on 6 appointments every week, you wanna go on an appointment every single day, maybe it's the right time to hire an ISA to double your appointments, to get you those other 3 you need. If you have a team, what do agents love? What do agents look for from brokerages, from teams? What do agents want?
Help.
Leads.
Leads. Agents want leads, right? So having a inside sales associate to tee up an appointment, not a lead, an appointment for another agent. Again, I started out by saying, I started as an ISA and a huge expansion team. So I was setting 8 to 10 appointments, pre-qualified, ready to go, warmed up, motivated buyers and sellers for another agent. So I literally would call and text Tom, one of the agents, to say, hey, Tom, just set an appointment for you. It should be on your calendar. I just sent you over their motivation, their pre-approval, all the information. Your appointment is today at 4:45. So Jeff, if you were on my team and I handed that to you, how do you feel?
Warm and fuzzy.
Warm and fuzzy, Yes, you're excited, right?
Yep.
What a value add that is. So there's so many reasons to hire an ISA. You just have to look to see, is it the right time? And if it's not the right time, what's the future plan for you? Right? What do you want to get? When is the right time? Let's talk a little bit about best practices on finding them. ISAs are like unicorns. I'll tell you this, it's not, hiring is not easy these days. It really isn't. It's a lot harder these days. I was a national recruiter for a huge company. So I've done recruiting, honestly, in every position since 2006. So I have helped organizations across any type of position hire. Right now in 2022, I am helping a few teams hire right now, and it's a lot harder. It is harder right now than it ever has been, right? ISAs is even harder than any other role. An ISA is going to be harder to hire than an admin. It's going to be harder to hire than an agent, because an ISA is a special, unique individual. They're wonderful. I call them, they're like, again, they're unicorns. An ISA for a team, or even you, I refer to them, if you hire the right person, especially in person, that could be your empire builder. It really could be. They're the first domino to break through to whatever level. If you close 200 units, Mr. Jeff, and you want to break through to 400, that ISA could be that domino to get you to 400 faster. So where are some places to find them? Right. We'll talk about local versus virtual in just a few minutes. Number one, social media. Posting on social media, right? Reaching out to your sphere, your past clients, people you know, asking them who they know. Right? Who do you know who loves talking to people, loves connecting, is natural at communicating and just making that connection with others, really cares about people, who may want an opportunity? I want to talk to them. Obviously, posting ads out there, posting on Indeed, posting on LinkedIn, you will absolutely get resumes. But then what about prospecting? We talk about prospecting to find homes for our buyers right now, right? You're out there door knocking to find homes for buyers and more listings. So why not prospect for hiring? You can go on places like LinkedIn or Facebook or college fairs, things like that, and different places you can find them. Educational industry. People who are in that industry usually make fairly good ISAs. Again, disclaimer, they still have to go through the interview process. Doesn't mean they're great, because they might actually be, let's say, they might work in cell phone sales, but they might be horrible at their job and just looking for another job because they're about to get fired. That might not be the person you hire. Any questions on this screen before I move on? The other thing with hiring is don't choose one out of one. There's a team that I work with in Virginia right now, and they had an ISA, and then I went in and did careful when you hire me. I went in and did a coaching session with the team in the ISA, and then I talked to their team leader, their rainmaker, about my notes, my observations, and based on that, they made the decision to let that person go. They made the decision. I didn't let them know. I just gave observations. So they're back in the hiring phase. So I'm working with them on that. And their director of operations, she put ads out there. Oh my God, almost everywhere. LinkedIn, Indeed, social media. She has ads everywhere. She has, I don't even know how many resumes she received, but she has phone screened 22 people. She has moved 6 of those to, with Keller Williams, the color personality assessment, so the assessment. She has moved 4 of those to the first in-person, and she has only moved 1 past the first interview. And I actually just met that one on Zoom the other day. Great candidate. My God. I know. Why do you want that? Why do you want, let me weed through these 20 to get these 6, to get these 4, to get this 1?
It's a tough job.
It's a tough job.
It takes a certain personality.
Takes a certain personality.
You gotta love rejection.
It does.
You gotta be, you have to have thick skin. Yep. You gotta go for the no to get the yes. Yep.
It does.
And if you interview 1 and you choose 1, you're choosing, I'm gonna say you're choosing the best out of the best, but the best out of the best is 1 out of 1.
It's also the worst out of the worst.
Or it could be the worst out of the worst. You actually don't know. You have nothing to compare them to. You have nothing to compare that person to. So you have to take the time. Now, time does not mean it will take you months, unless you let it take months. This person in Virginia, those numbers I ran through, it took her 2 weeks. That's it, 2 weeks. She now has a person moving into the final stage, right, which is meeting the agents, going like a social, like she's doing a lunch with the agents to make sure that the culture fits, right? It's taken 2 weeks, that's it. Does the ISA need to have a real estate license? So I'm going to answer, that was a great question in the chat. I'm going to answer that in 2 ways. Number 1, I know there's people from other states on the Zoom right now, and there are people who are going to be watching this recording. I have to send it to in other states. You have to look at your state. Every state has a requirement. Check with your real estate commission to find out what the legalities are. Every state's different. Some states are a lot more rigid. Texas is extremely rigid. I coach some teams in Texas. You could not talk to anybody without a real estate license, even to say hello. You cannot do it. Now, in Maryland, I will tell you, Maryland, you don't need to be licensed to be an ISA, but you do need to be licensed to have certain conversations. And those are things that when you're ready to bring on an ISA, those are things you want to look into. I will tell you one of the things, for example, which as an ISA, I found this hilarious. You can't talk price at all. Even if the person calls you and says, hey, I'm looking at this property on Zillow, literally in front of us, public to everybody, at 123 Main Street. Can you tell me the price? It's on Zillow, it's local to everybody, but I cannot sit there as an ISA, not licensed, and tell the person the price. Funny things, the little things you can't do. It's actually hilarious because they think it's public. Why can't I do that? But you can't. And you will absolutely not only get that person in trouble, but you are liable to them. So you will get in trouble and could lose your license. Do not test it. That was a great question. I did see a commission thing. We are going to talk about how to pay them, different pay structures, and what do you do if they are licensed versus not licensed. So we're going to get to that in just a minute. What do you look for? What do you want in that ISA? There's a few things on the screen. You need that. Here's the thing. Number 1, and it's not, I don't think it's on here, but I'm going to share it with you. The reason why a quick 5-minute phone screen when you start getting resumes in is so important is you can tell. In 5 minutes, you can tell the person can have a conversation, right?
Well, dialing for dollars, price six.
If in 5 minutes, you don't even want to stay on the phone with them, would they be a good ISA? If they can't even hold a conversation with you for 5 minutes, would they be a good ISA? No. You can literally do quick phone screens, no more than 15 minutes, by the way. Phone screens are 15 minutes max, because you're just seeing, can this person hold a conversation to move to the next step? So let's say that demonstrators. Maureen, I want you to call me. I'm your candidate. I want you to call me right now. And just ask me, tell me a little bit about yourself.
As an ISA candidate?
Yep, so I'm an ISA candidate. You're gonna ask me that question. Tell me a little bit about yourself.
Yeah. So what have you done in the past?
Oh, I had some jobs.
Yeah,
Mhm.
that's good. Any of those skills kind of translate to being on the phone here?
I mean, I talk to the phone. Yeah, I'm okay with the phone.
Yeah. So when you talk on the phone, are you able to engage with the people that you talk to?
Oh, I'm great with people. Yep, I'm great with people.
So.
Okay, we'll stop there.
All open-ended questions too.
Okay, would you move that person? Would you move me to the next step?
No.
Please say no. Do not move me to the next step. Now, if I start, oh my God, yes. So let me tell you this example. When I worked in this one position, here's what I've done. And so one of my favorite interview questions on the phone is simply, hey, Jeff, thank you so much for sending your resume in for the Inside Sales Associate with our team. I will share a little bit about the role in just a little bit, but I want to just know, I do have your resume. Can you just tell me a little bit about yourself? Now, when you say tell me a little bit about yourself, I'll be honest. He can read down his resume. I'm actually not listening for what he's telling me. I'm listening for how he holds a conversation.
Story.
Does he give me one word? Is he like, well, I graduated in college with a business degree, but I didn't like that. And I am already thinking about what I'm having for dinner that night, and I have tuned him out. He is not moving forward, sorry. But on the flip side, if I ask that and Jeff is like, let me talk about this, and let me talk about that, and then maybe he asks me a question, I've now learned that he can hold a conversation. So there's some things you want to be, the phone screen is very important with an ISA more than any other role, because you can give an ISA skill sets as far as language patterns, how to closing tactics, how to dig for motivation, how to move people. You can give skill sets. Those you can teach. You cannot actually teach conversational skills. You cannot teach natural engagement. That's either somebody has that or they don't. And if you attempt to bring somebody on because like, wow, I really like this person. There's a team I worked with and they kept bringing people on because they liked them and wanted to give them a chance. Stop it. You're just throwing money out the window and you're going to be pulling your hair out.
Be a buyer's agent than an ISA. At least they got some chance.
Exactly, right? So find someone who can have a conversation, quick thinker, sociable, problem solvable, assertive, right?
I like cultural fit. That's a good one.
It's huge, right? Especially, I mean, if it's you personally hiring them, you're going to be talking to them every single day. Do you get along? Like, do you want to hang out with this person? If you don't, why would you want them on your team? Why would you want them with you?
It's easier to train somebody who you like.
It is
who you get
easier.
along with than
Absolutely.
it is to find someone that you don't get along with and try to train.
100%. So what are you looking for? There's potential, emerging, and proven. Potential is there's no track record. There's just potential there. By the way, any three of these can be hired. This is your decision. Potential, though, you have to think about your time and your energy you want to put into training. Whoever you hire, you do need to train, obviously, or hire a coach to train. However, you're still going to be spending time with them. Potential talent is somebody who's going to need daily guidance and training from you. They don't know anything. Do you have the time for that? Emerging talent is someone who's done a similar role. So they might have worked in a call center, right? Or they might have worked as a college recruiter. They have to make so many calls. They have to dial people. They have to get people enrolled. They have to right? So they might have worked in a similar opportunity, right? So they're emerging. Proven is, I was an ISA for an agent on this team. Here's my talent, here's my track record.
So are they more expensive?
Not always. This might not the team in Virginia that I coach. The person who made it through the final stage was an ISA on another team. The team wasn't a good fit. This team hiring them is actually lower money, like a lower commission splits. But the team that she was on just wasn't, like, they were more demanding. It just wasn't a good fit, right? All right, let me pause for a minute, open it up. Questions so far? We talked about where to find people. Talked about that phone screen and what you're listening for in that first 5, 10, again, max 15 minutes. Nobody has time for more than that. So they made it past the phone screen. Now what? Now, if you're with Keller Williams, Keller Williams does have the career visioning process. I've taken that class. Oh my God, I don't even know how many times now. 7 times. I recommend when it comes around to the region or wherever you are, which is multiple times a year, that you take it multiple times. My background is recruiting, my background is hiring, and I get so much out of that program. I will say this, that process, right? So they move forward to take an assessment. The assessment just talks about their natural strengths. That's all the assessment does. It's 10% of the story. But if the assessment comes back that they're not sociable, they're a super low fit for anything sales related or team related, do you want to move forward? Probably not. If they're a crazy low fit, if they're medium, again, the assessment's only 10% of the story. So if they're a medium fit and I felt something over the phone, I'd probably move them forward in the next step. But if they're super low fit, don't fight it. That's their natural self.
You know, what makes me nervous about hiring a ISA is a few things.
Okay.
One is I feel like, anyone can do it for a little bit, but that's a grind. And, I'm kind of curious what the fallout rate is. But also, like, after a while, if somebody's successful at that, why wouldn't they want to then be an agent? And then you're starting all over again.
So those are true concerns, not just from you, but from multiple people. I guarantee you, there's
Yeah, but
people on
it's
Zoom
mine
right now who
first.
probably nodding their head like, yeah. So here's the thing. I wanna talk through some of those right now. Is that cool? I'm gonna steer off track because I want to talk through.
Sorry,
some.
I was thinking.
No, these are great. Is it cool if I talk through some of Jeff's concerns? I'm gonna take silence as a yes. Awesome. So one of them was, it's a grind. It is. You're finding someone who loves the hunt. You're finding someone who also loves just connecting with people, right? And I mean, I know I have friends, literally friends nationwide one of my friends, Michelle, she is in Wisconsin. She's been an ISA now for 5 years. She loves it. She did attempt to be an agent for 6 months. She thought, I'm going to be an ISA. Now I'm going to go be an agent on the same team. Then she realized she hates having her evenings and weekends taken. She loved the freedom she has as an ISA. I can get in, I can set my appointments, make sure they're quality, and now I have all my evenings. Now she does do some calls on the weekends. She is on call for some phone calls. She might get 3 or 4, maybe sometimes in the spring season, 8 phone calls on a Saturday. She talks to them, she sets the appointment, she moves on. She's not tied to, so she decided 6 months into being an agent, oh, forget this. I'm going back to be an ISA, and she loves it. She loves it. She makes bank. Bank for her, right? Could she make more being an agent? Absolutely. But she still makes 6 figures. She's happy. So some people want to be an ISA and not an agent because they like the freedom. Not freedom meaning like as an agent, we have freedom, but we are tied to our phones. It's harder to take
And our
vacations.
cars.
We're tied to our cars, we're tied to our phones, we are tied to our weekends, our this, right? I mean, how many times have we have agents, right? Me, myself. So I actually was an ISA and then I became an agent. And I will tell you, no, then I became a coach. I will tell you, I've been asked many times if obviously I'm coaching, if I were to choose myself personally between ISA and agent, I personally would probably choose ISA because I am that person who, I love to travel. I love my weekends. I love my evenings. I love my Netflix. Right? I like spending time with friends, my family, all this other stuff. And when I was an agent, I had a lot of success. I love the money, but I liked my balance more. That was me personally. Now, you could hire an ISA and they could in 6 months to a year, they have to prove themselves. They could in 6 months to a year want to now be an agent on your team. Is that such a bad thing?
No,
Absolutely not,
I
because
just think that ISA is such a tough role to fill.
an ISA is a tough, it is a tough, I work with teams nationwide on hiring. It is a tough role to fill. Totally doable. There's ISAs again, this team in Virginia, they're about to hire somebody. It took them 3 weeks to find them. That's it, 3 weeks. And I think this, I mean, again, we don't know.
We know Bob Lucido did when he was in here.
Oh, yes, I do. We're not gonna talk about that.
No, but
We're recording, but
My,
yes.
my one thing that I will say about Bob Lucido is he has 4 and he's looking for more.
Yeah.
So there's
There's
something to
people
that.
there's people in-house. One of the top teams in the nation. So there's a few top teams in the entire nation, right? One of them, his name is Cody Gibson. Cody Gibson is in, oh my God, he's one of the largest expansion teams within real estate. They have an entire lead gen department. They have a director of lead gen who oversees a department of ISAs. And to be honest with you, I have no idea how many ISAs they even have these days because it's so many. There was a team I used to work with in California. This team had 2 locations and I coached their ISAs and their director of lead gen. And they had, at their highest moment, they had 12 ISAs. 12 ISAs for this team. And then went down to 9. They kept it 9, but the highest moment they had 12 ISAs. So this position exists. Now here's the thing, if you go into hiring this thinking, oh my God, who would want to do this job? This is a grunt job. This job sucks. You're probably going to put that mindset on the interview process and on that person when they start. If you go into this going, this is the empire builder, literally empire builder for your business. This is the first domino to all of the success for you and your agents. Different mindset, right? When you say that, so hey, I'm looking to hire an empire builder. First domino, this is what it does, right? This is what it is. Now, explain to them the job. I will say on the phone screening, if they move past that, if they can hold a conversation for 5 minutes, I will absolutely, before we get off the phone, say, hey, Ksenia, I would love to move you forward into the next phase of the interview process, which is our online assessment. Super cool, it takes like 55 minutes to take, and it just tells you all about your strengths, right? And then we'll sit down in person and we'll go through it. Now, before we do that, I do want to tell you a little bit more about this role to make sure you understand it and are okay with it. And this is where I'm actually going to say to the person, so number 1, this is an empire builder. This person we're looking for is going to set up the appointments for our agents. You're going to be nurturing and building relationships with potential buyers, potential sellers, investors, right? Making connections with people to help them with the biggest purchase of their life. You are the first domino of someone's home. That's kind of powerful. Now, on the flip side, Ksenia, I will also tell you this. You're going to grind. You're going to get hung up on. You're going to get cursed out. You're going to have to get a lot of no's to get a yes. And you're going to have to smile and dial on that phone. We call it dialing for dollars. How do you feel about that? Would you like to move to the next step? Say that right up front. Do not try to sell them on this. Tell them the nitty gritty of the role. There's good and there's bad. Tell them both. So they know ahead of time, and you know, I'd rather have somebody, I did this on a phone screen once where I loved this person. Literally 10 minutes, I was like, wow, I could talk to this person for hours. And then I said the good and the bad to the job, and this guy said, no, nope, no. I thought it was more like social media, marketing, maybe a few phone calls. I was like, oh no, you're making like 300 to 500 calls a day. You're talking to 34 people a day. He was like, nope. I was like, great. I will keep your resume on file for other future things. By the way, ever think about being an agent? And that ended that call. I love it. Did I answer and touch on some of the things that you
Yeah, I
said?
think so.
So Ksenia, to your point that you asked in the very beginning, how do we retain them? Right? You said you had an ISA and there wasn't clarity around the role, right? There was some confusion. So it's very important prior to their start date. And I do have examples of 30, 60, 90s that I'm more than happy to share with you. You want to provide them that 30, 60, 90. It shows them the clarity. Hey, here's what to expect in your first 30 days. Here's what we expect out of you, and here's what you need to do. Here's what you need to do in your next 30 days, and here's what you need to do in your next 30. So number one, the 30, 60, 90 gives them the clarity they need to be successful, hopefully. But what does it do for you as their leader? What does the 30, 60, 90 help you with as their leader? Besides clarity. Who wants to guess? Any guesses? 30, 60, 90 for you as a leader?
Like, it gives you a chance to give them feedback and let them know, you know, where they can improve or what they're doing right, or.
It provides you that, hey, we're gonna touch base every single week. Pour into this person, you just hired them. Every week, we're gonna touch base on how you're doing. Are you on track? It also allows you to cut ties faster. Has anybody ever hired someone and held on to them for way too long?
Yep.
It's painful, not just for you, but for that person. It is painful. So 30, 60, 90 allows you to say, right? If you ask anybody I hired here and say, what did Alana say in the interview about the 30, 60, 90? They will say, hire slow, fire fast. I literally said that in the interview. I hire slow, I fire fast. You're gonna have exactly what you need to do to be successful. I'm going to guide you and train you every step of the way. And if in 30 days these things are not accomplished, we'll cut ties. Red light, green light. If I give Jeff a 30, 60, 90, and in 30 days you do nothing that's on there, nothing at all, you don't accomplish one thing on the 30 day. First, I'm gonna look at myself in the mirror and be like, okay, did I completely ignore you for 30 days? And just be like, okay, good luck. Okay, now that's on me. Let's start fresh. Let's do another 30 days. That's my fault. But if you knew what to expect, and I was giving some trainings along the way, or paid for some of these trainings, and you don't do any of it, we're gonna sit down at that 30-day mark. You're gonna know ahead of time, hey, you need to, like, you're not doing the job. You need to do this, you need to do this. It's the high accountability. And then at the 30-day mark, you're being let go. This is not the role.
Right.
Now, if he gave it his best and he accomplished 80% of it, okay, fantastic.
Yeah, we're going 60.
Yeah, we're moving on. Like, let's finalize this, see what we need to do, let's move a little faster, let's move on to 60, right? But again, if you move them all the way through 90, it means they have excelled through the 90. Any questions on that? Sometimes I get some
Well, I
questions
have
on
one,
that
but I'm
one.
not sure it's spelled.
You can
Okay.
ask it and then I can say yes or no.
Yeah, you can sit down and be quiet. So here's the fear, okay?
Mhm.
The reality is, no matter how good at hiring you are, the retention for this, because it's a unicorn, is lower than a janitor, right? We interview for a janitor, you'll probably find a pretty good applicant. This is more challenging. Consequently, you get to that 30, 60, you're gonna say, you know, out of 10 people you hire, I'll bet you 8 of them you're gonna say goodbye, or at least 5, right? I mean, I'm just saying, the retention is lower because it's a more difficult job to fill.
So the hiring is harder, but if you take your time to go through applicants and hire properly, you can fill it, and
You think the
the
retention is
retention
fine?
is now higher.
Okay,
Now, the retention will be lower if you do not set them up for success. So if you literally hire someone, so the next thing, have systems set up prior to the start date. Okay, know that it's going to take them 90 days for them to see success, so you need to provide the success early on. Right, meaning early on, they should be on the phones by day 2. Because the longer you wait to train them and put them on the phones, the longer it's gonna take them to have success. Right, so now you're prolonging their success. So day 2, they're on the phones. They don't need to know everything, they can learn along the way. They
Yeah.
can mess up, it's cool. People won't remember them, they can call them back.
right.
Right, there's so many things. Make sure the systems are set up, make sure they have the leads to call on. Right. Maybe you feed them a little success early on, like, hey, I just went to this open house, call these leads for me. Right, feed them that success. The retention is going to be there if you yourself have lined everything up to help them be successful. It will not be there at all, to your point, and people will jump ship fast if you don't have the leads for them to call on, if you are ignoring, if you're not making them part of the team. You're like, okay, well, this is your 30, 60, 90, good luck, here's some scripts, hope you get this, we need these many appointments. Yeah, they're gonna struggle a lot and they're gonna quit. Absolutely. And they might be great talent. You don't know, you didn't pour into them.
Do you prefer having an ISA in your office?
That's one of my favorite questions. I probably get asked that question at least 10 times a week. There are pluses and minuses to both in-person versus virtual. Okay, now, I use the words in-person as far as in-person meaning your state. Right? If you can have someone in-house with you in an office space with you, that will always give you better results than anything else. Okay, that is proven for 10 years of stats proven. If you find an amazing candidate, like the team in Virginia, this candidate has to be removed physically. And she lives in the state, so she knows the state. Right, so she still would make a great candidate. Again, the team is just gonna have to do some different types of Zoom connections with her throughout the day to keep her engaged. Now, virtual, there are some great companies with some amazing virtual. I've hired in-person ISAs and I have also hired virtual ISAs. There's some amazing companies that provide virtual ISAs. Just know that you'll never get the same results. So you always have to see, what results do I want? That's the first thing. Before you hire, what do you want? If you want an appointment every single day, if you want a minimum of 5 appointments a week, if not more, I would say 8 to 10. If not more, you want a person local. If you're like, you know what, I'm just kind of kicking things off, I want like 2 or 3 more appointments a week, you can do virtual. Absolutely. You're just, again, just know that your 30, 60, 90 has to be different for an in-person versus virtual. That was a good question. Did I answer it?
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. Any other questions regarding virtual and in-person? That's a big one that people have. Okay. Retaining them, daily script practice. Now, they should do this with you, right? You're their leader. They should do this with you. They should be doing it. If you have a team, you should be doing it as a team every day. 15 minutes script practice as a team. Right? That's powerful to kick off your day. That sets a tone. There's also a lot of, there's a great Facebook group. My friend Anna Kruger runs it. It is called, if you type in Inside Sales Associates on Facebook as a group, I think it's called Masterminding ISAs. I'll look up the name exactly and put it in the chat box in a little bit. Where an ISA can go in there, be like, hey, I'm looking for some script partners, 15 minutes a day, this time zone, preferably these times a day. They will find, that's what I did. I didn't have anybody to practice with, except for once a week with the team. And I wanted to perfect, I wanted to master it. So I went on this group and I had a script partner from different states every day. It was so much fun, right? Again, practicing the craft, practicing that conversation. That is crucial. They'll have better, if they practice 15 minutes a day, 5 days a week, they will, if they're hitting their numbers and tracking them, they will see success very early on. Tracking numbers, that's important. Also reporting. So this is important. I know Ksenia, you have your person. I know a few other people are out here are hiring. It's not just about that ISA making the call, setting the appointments. They need to hear the outcome. Right? Now this takes agents reporting back, which is not always easy. But that ISA needs to hear, right? If I'm an ISA and I set an appointment for Jeff, and Jeff went on the appointment, they showed up and they signed, Jeff even just texted me back, be like, oh my God, the appointment you set for me with Bob Smith just signed. I'm now feeling as an ISA that I have led to that success. So that's a huge retention thing right there, right? When it goes to under contract, hey, you know you're a person, Bob Smith, they're under contract now. Those little things that you share with them make them want to do more. That's a big retention. And then of course, this is something that you should, for anybody in your team in any role, know their big why. What is their why? Why are they doing this, right? You have goals for them, but what are their goals? Do they need to make 80,000 their first year? How many closings will it take of appointments that they set to make 80,000? Why is that 80,000 important to them? What will that do? Is it vacations with their family? Where are they going? Right? Really dig into that person's reasoning, because it's going to help you as their leader push them more to do more. All right, now pause for a minute. Questions, thoughts? Tracking. Again, anybody, I'm more than happy to provide you with example tracking systems. Again, been doing this since 2015. I have you do not need to reinvent the wheel. The number of percentages you see on the screen right here are averages from nationwide stats. They do vary dependent on your team, your lead flow, lead sources. So do not take these as gospel. There are a lot of variations to this depending on your lead flow. Okay. I will say this though, if you have a full-time inside sales associate who's working Monday through Friday, maybe they're taking a few calls Saturday, but really Monday through Friday, and they are in person, okay, they're not virtual, they're in person, meaning in the state. By the end of their 60 days, they should absolutely be hitting an appointment a day. By the end of their 90 days, they should 100% be setting an appointment a day. They're full-time, they're local, they're in person, they're being trained, they're practicing. They should be setting an appointment every day. Doesn't mean all of them show or close. There's, not everything's 100%, but you should be getting 5 set at least a week. Minimum. This is minimum, bare minimum. What does that do for your business?
Do you want to be an ISA?
Me? I've been an ISA for a really long time. I started as an ISA, I think called the telesales back in 1988.
So accountability is king.
Sorry.
Nobody likes that word accountability. I know, just like, listen, but you're doing the right thing. You know how, you know the greatest way to find ISA? Ask people. Ask people, right? By the way, another good source, I didn't have it up there, but this is like a newer source that agents are finding right now, as of this year. Tapping into agents who are struggling or who are newer, who might want to start as an ISA to, what is an ISA really?
That's a good spot.
Are all agents ISAs?
Yes.
Well, essentially.
Every agent who actually every agent who actually focuses on their business and does the right activities are actually ISAs. If you, this morning, we had, and yesterday morning, so every morning from 9 to 11, Mark Simone, our owner, our operating partner, and his team, the Simone Group, right, one of the top teams, they come into the training room and lead gen together. So for 2 hours, their entire team is an ISA. Because ISAs are just people who lead gen, right? So as an agent, you are an ISA during your lead gen time. So there's a lot of newer agents who want to quit their job or who need extra money, or who want to learn, who love, you need to make sure they love the phone. You cannot get that person who's like, oh my God, I don't like the phone. Don't hire them. You can't train them to like a phone. But if you find somebody like that, there's nothing wrong with, hey, I want to bring you in as this to learn the one thing that's going to make you an amazing agent is lead generation. And ISA is a lead gen machine. If you master this for 6 months and then you become an agent, you'll outperform everybody. Everybody. So I did like what you did. So again, here's some stats. Again, hopefully you took some pictures, but this is not, again, don't sit there and say this is black and white. There's a lot of gray areas depending on lead sources. And your ISA should be tracking their numbers every single day. And they should be reporting them to you. How many people are they talking to? That's a contact. Out of those people they're talking to, how many appointments are they setting? Out of those appointments, how many are showing up? Now they won't know how many agreements signed without the agent reporting back to them, but they need to know those things. Why is that important? I'm going to answer your question. I'm going to get to you in a minute, but let me ask this. Why do you need to know these numbers?
Well, because if they're not being successful, you need to figure out why. So these numbers allow you to see how effective they are and if they need help.
Yeah, these numbers, I love that. These numbers allow you to see how effective they are and if they need help, right? Numbers tell a story. Numbers tell a story. So if you have somebody, right? So this ISA that I coach right now in Wisconsin, she's newer. She was struggling a lot in her first 60 days. And she started tracking her numbers and she kept thinking it was all about objections. Oh, I can't do these objections. I'm struggling with this. I need to practice. I said, I need you to track your numbers for this week. She came back at the end of the week and each day she was connecting with about 7 to 8 people a day. Was her issue objections or something else? Who wants to guess what the issue was?
She's not calling on people.
Thank you. She wasn't calling enough people. So what I ended up doing, actually, because she's in Wisconsin, I can't see her, I zoomed in to her day. So I just observed her. I literally sat on Zoom while she did her business. I noticed in 1 hour of zooming into her day that she spent more time reading notes, looking up stuff, clicking on things, blah, 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 to not dial fast enough to get in touch with more people. So if I listened to her, we would have spent all this time on objection handlers. Her results wouldn't improve. Instead, we had to talk about time management and how to get her contact number up to get her results to improve.
So
Numbers
that
tell a
does
story.
lead to my next question.
Numbers tell a story, yes.
So do you recommend like a dialer and do you recommend like a service that tracks and all that stuff?
Your ISA should be tracking. I honestly, I use a Google Sheet. I have a Google Sheet. It's super easy. Anybody I coach, I share it to. And the ISA every day before they end their day, put their numbers in. Don't overcomplicate it.
Do you buy the leads? Like, do you have a, you know what I mean?
Every team is different with how they provide their leads. So you, prior to hiring an ISA, as a team, you need to decide, do I want a person as an ISA because I have 12,000 people in my database that are not being worked and not being touched on, that I need somebody to dig into because there's probably gold in those 12,000? Then there's no reason buying leads. You have 12,000 of them. You just need a person to call them. If you're like, oh my God, okay, let me hire this person and I want them calling, I need more listings. So this person is good doing circle prospecting, expireds, and for sale by owners. That was my bread and butter. That's all I called. Because the agents want listings. You have to decide as a person, as a team, what you want them calling on based on what you want the result to be. And then from there, decide on the leads. Now, your first part of that question was, we had a two-parter.
Dialer?
Oh, dialer. All right, dialers. I have to say this because we are in a room, I'm in a training, and we're on a recording.
Particularly the recording.
In your state, including the state of Maryland, please look up the legalities around using a dialer, because in the past few years, specifically the past 2 years, dialer companies, Mojo, Vulcan 7, Espresso Agent, there's a bunch of them out there. Dialer companies have been sued a lot. Not you, the agent, but dialer companies. So there are some states that do not allow dialers anymore. There are certain legalities around certain dialers and how to use them. So just do your due diligence as an agent before you purchase a dialer in your state. I will tell you back in the day, do your research today. Back in the day, I absolutely did use a dialer. I used Mojo. One-liner, but I put it all in there. I had my headset going. I just had music in the background. I walked around and it just did the dialing for me. And I just talked from one into the phone. So it sped it up to where I could get about 300 to 500 dials in a day. Right? Manually, you can't get 300 to 500 dials in a day. That's manual, right? So manually, you should be expecting though, honestly, and at least 25 to 50 dials in an hour, depending on if they count, they pick up. I don't focus on dials. If they're not making the contacts, then we talk about dials. I want a contact, right? So the agent in Wisconsin, she dials manually. So she has to, she is a minimum. She has a minimum, keep my job, keep my seat. She has to connect with 20 people minimum in her day. If she doesn't, she has to stay later or work on a Saturday. That's the team, that's their requirements, right? Because she can't get the results they need or she needs without that. Did that answer your question?
Yeah.
Awesome, that was a great question. Okay, I know we are out of time, but let me just share a few more things. Payment structure. Very first thing is you as an agent need to sit down and decide what you are comfortable with. Meaning look at your, hopefully you have a P&L, if not, get one. What are you comfortable with per month? If they are not licensed, you cannot pay them commission. Okay? You cannot pay them a commission if they are not licensed. So I started not licensed, so the team I was on, I had a monthly stipend, as they called it. It was low, but I had a monthly stipend, and then I had a bonus structure off of closings. So they bonused me for closings. That was a little different to it. When I got
That's set at
licensed,
the table, right?
then it moved for, nothing came from the table. That had to come out. It can't be, I couldn't.
No, at settlement.
Oh, a settlement, yeah. You want, here's the thing, you want to push this person to make more calls, to set more appointments, to do more and more quality. So to do that, you absolutely want the majority of their money coming from the end goal of selling. Never bonus on appointments because they will 100% give you fake appointments. It's easy. I hired an ISA once and he 100% gave you fake appointments. Took me 60 days to figure it out. Don't bonus on appointments. Don't incentivize people. People can fake anything. Right? You want quality and you want closing, so that's what you focus on. So on the screen, these are just again a few examples of best practices from teams around the nation. But you as an agent need to figure out what are you comfortable with, right? Money wise. There's a team in Texas. I will tell you this. There's a team in Texas who they don't have any base whatsoever. It is solely come in. For the first 90 days, they have a 90-day training stipend that they give them. And then at 90 days, they should be licensed by banks. They have to be licensed in the state of Texas. So by 90 days, they have to have their license. And then they lose their 90-day stipend, that stops, and then they just have 10% commission off of everything. If I started a team today, I would never bring an agent on my team. I would only bring an ISA to turn them into an agent. Because now I know they can do the one thing that matters to get their business up. And then finally, taking the first step. So this is kind of where we end it. I'm going to ask everybody right now, what do you want your first, what do you need your first step to be? If you're going to hire an ISA, what do you need that first step to be? And then figure that out. If you already have an ISA, what do you want that next step to be? Or what do you need to go back and do a 30-60-90 with them to get them, kind of start them fresh, right? Just thinking about what do you want your first steps to be with them. Thank you so much for everybody tuning in. Really love the questions, loved everything. Maureen, thank you. Love that you were in here.